Yeah, man. How you doing?
I'm good. My name is Jacques. Welcome to the Press Tent.
Thank you.
We'll keep it relatively short. We appreciate you taking the time to talk to us for a few minutes. We're a little more aggressive on the technology this year, and we're recording everything so we can post it up for the world that comes to the festival's website. And so the questions I'm asking are for us, but I'm also going to ask some kind of a couple overview questions just for folks that aren't familiar, just so they can become familiar. And,
Sure.
You're foundation artists in this beautiful music of reggae. Can you say a little bit about how you first got together? I'm curious.
Right. That's kind of like a convoluted story, but
we like those.
you want the short version, right?
The real version.
Yeah, he can do
so back in the days, we were like young teenagers, and that I had an interest in singing or hearing good songs, but I hadn't known Keith personally at the time. We played football together, and I taught him how to run the ball and stuff like that. In an event, I heard one day that some guys were practicing singing in a open land that was adjacent to where we lived. So I went over there to investigate, and of course it was Keith and his 3 friends. And they're singing, they sounded pretty good, so I decided to join and to see if I could fit in, and I did. Eventually we got some songs that were ready, and people said, well, you guys need to try recording it. We went down for an audition with one of the premier studios at the time, Duke Reed, but we were turned down because of nervousness and other factors. Then what happened after that is that the other 3 guys, which I can't even remember their names right now.
Julian Whiteley.
Julian Whiteley was one, his brother. And in an event, they took off. They said, we can't be bothered with this. So Keith and I, for some reason, stuck it out. We went on a daily basis to rehearse at a friend of ours who had a piano. Eventually, we came up with some songs again that suited just both of us. Took it to the play field, let the guys listen. The guys said, we're ready. And then we took it down.
If it sounds good in the play field, it's good, all right?
Yeah. So we took it down to we tried to get recorded by Beverly's, but they weren't open at the time. We went to Derek Harriet's One Stop, and he was impressed. His staff was impressed.
Derek
Harriet,
Harriet,
yeah. Eventually became our producer, and we did all the songs. Most of the hit songs that we've done was through his record label. So yeah, that's how we got started.
Well,
I don't know if Keith has anything to add.
No. You're the historian. You're good.
speaking for lovers of reggae music, I can speak for all of us and say we're glad you didn't stop at Duke Reed and Beverly's and you went to the next and kept pushing because something beautiful came out of that stick-to-itiveness.
Yeah.
You know when you're young, like you if you got the thing in your mind, you're not easily deterred. So I think that's what it was. We were kind of young and stupid.
So that's the beginning. Now you are you're legends, you are role models, you're heroes, you're elders. And so now as you travel together after all these years, can you say something about what that journey means to you now that you look back and see all that's happened?
Yeah. Well, just want to say before I answer the question that we've been together for 51 years. We are probably one of the very few remaining original acts together. But we came out to California in 2013, I think it was.
2013.
Our current manager, Nathan, brought us out for a show. And so we're at Los Globos in LA. And we were just floored with the interest, the crowd, the age of the crowd, singing our songs word for word. So, we've been away for a while, and you come back to this, we had no knowledge of how strong and how popular the music was. And in all our travel since then, because immediately after that show, we came here. And then from Sierra Nevada, the world opened up. So we're, very thankful to come back and that they have us back. But everywhere we've traveled now, you go to Mexico, and from the first note is played, they're singing your song with a Spanish accent, but word for word. I mean, it's awesome. It really is. And when we did these songs, back in '66, '67, we had no idea that they could last this long. Had no idea, And today, Stop That Train is still playing tonight, and there are re-releases all over the world. So, we're happy to be in the moment at this moment.
Yeah, I mean, I know that Japan seems to re-release something from y'all about every 3 months.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
the old tunes are still fresh, and it's a joy to see.
Yeah.
For most folks or it seems like the tradition is you get together with people, try and make some music, group, get a name, find a foot into the industry, then find a reason to argue and split and go your separate ways.
Yeah.
That seems to be the tradition in music.
That is a trend, yeah.
If you had the ear of some young artists that were working together in a group, what advice would you give them in terms of how to make it last?
You got to have a genuine love for the business. You got to be convinced that what you're doing is not just for commercial purposes, and it's like those marriages that last. You have to have give and take. You have to have an understanding of, the industry. Bad things gonna happen to you, but if you have strengths, you can prevail. In Keith and my case, we were separated for quite a while before we reunited, and I don't know if that actually helped. Although I doubt it. I think that if we had continued, all things being equal, we would have been further along. But I just seem to, genuinely like him. We genuinely like each other, and we get along really well.
We're compatible.
You know.
We've been friends since 16.
Yeah.
Our families are connected. I'm Uncle Keith. He's Uncle Tex.
Yeah.
So it's that close. You know what I mean? So it's easy. We're not in each other's face. We get pissed off, but we overcome it, just like anybody, good friends do. And carry on for the betterment, the bigger picture, So
And respect,
Yeah,
I
and
respect
enough
him,
respect.
and I think he respects me. I hope so.
Yes. Always.
Any questions, please?
Yes, greetings. Give thanks for being here.
Yes, ma'am.
It's really an honor and a privilege. And, a foundational artist such as yourself, you've seen basically the entire, growth of reggae music even before it was called reggae music.
Yeah.
And one of the differences I see as being a radio DJ is that, sometimes some of the old recordings have a different quality and they're different. And so in terms of like recording your music and getting it out to the people, can you talk about how the recording process has changed and how technology has changed, what the final product is getting to the people?
Yeah. Well, back in those days, in the 60s, I think we did our first recording at Federal Records. It was one of the first studios in Jamaica. But it was all live, This is how it was configured. You had like a circle of musicians looking in, and the artist is in the middle and singing lowly, so they can catch it and record it. It's spontaneous. It's musicians working off each other. We had some of the best musicians backing us up. We had Lynn Tate, supreme guitarist. I mean, he wasn't Jamaican, but what he did for Jamaican music was out of this world.
Yeah.
We had Hux Brown, Jackie Jackson on bass. What was the drummer again?
Joe Isaac.
Joe Isaac,
Yeah.
and the keyboardist.
And the keyboard was Ike Bennett.
Ike Bennett.
Yeah.
So some of the best, and it was spontaneous. We came to the studios with a basic formation of the song. We played instruments, so we had the basic chords, and then we left it up to the musicians to arrange it.
Yeah.
And it's just a time when musicianship was the thing. People took pride in playing live and studying their music. Today, there's still good music being played today, and computer aided. Our last album, our latest album, Same Old Story, the music was recorded in Spain, was sent to us via the internet, tracks. We recorded the tracks in Atlanta. You know, he lives in Toronto, I live in Tampa. You know, so it's this whole new generation of ways of doing things. It's tremendous. You can talk to somebody like they're next door to you, transport music across the air, you know, and get it done. And so you can collaborate with people all over the world. The album before this, we collaborated with Israel, Hawaii, England, you know, where else we had?
From California as well.
California.
I just wanted to add that, you know, back in the days, it was all analog. So, you know, quality was a bit different. And I guess that kind of, like, people are searching for that kind of spontaneity nowadays, because digital kind of make everything so much easier. If there's
perfect.
an error, you know, you can correct it. Back in the days, if you had studio time, but if you made like an error and it wasn't egregious, it just kind of
Left
went.
it there.
You know, so that's one of the advancements or changes that I've seen that has affected the recording industry as of up to now. You know, I don't know if that answers
Very
your
good question, too.
Which one do you prefer? Which one do you think, or a combination of both, or I don't know.
You know what? Technology is going to...
Would you rewind it and put it back to the old era, or do you like the new technologies?
No, I'm a proponent of what's going to be is going to be. What was then appropriate for then. What is now is the advancement of technology. And I think that's good because, as you can see, like, technology is affecting our lives in so many ways. So it inevitably would get into music, and that's what's happened. So I can't say I'm gonna go, you know, I prefer that, because even at the time we were kids, we didn't have a real great appreciation for the finer points of music. We were just raw young kids who wanted to express our talent in recording live, you know, recorded music. So now, I mean, it's great still that you can perfect stuff, but you know, but still, we can't. We always gotta love the stuff that we did, even with the mistakes and all that was in it. That's all.
Yeah, I know. One of my favorite is, you know, some of the old foundational stuff, the old foundation of your artists. You know, like in the modern tent, you know, in the now.
Yeah.
And you know, brought up to like modern.
Right.
You know,
Right.
Yeah.
And so
One thing is,
so I give thanks, you know, that you guys are still, you know, working as hard as you are, and thanks.
I was
for
gonna add that
being
one
here
thing is
sharing
that
about it.
back the compositions back in the days were I think better. You know, the rhythms were forced to be better than nowadays. Because a lot of new guys are living off those old rhythms. Those old rhythms are resurfacing and they're being redone. So there's a reason they call it foundation, you know, rhythms, because that's where most of the new rhythms are stemming from.
Yeah, and the test of time, you know, it tells a story. But I like a hybrid. As I mentioned earlier, we get music from abroad or from wherever, and then we digitally, you know, do the vocals. And digital has so much to offer in terms of fixing things, making it sound a certain way, which, you know, the old school way just can't cope with, you know. And there's so many things you can do now. You can on a software do, you know, 30 tracks for vocals. One track, all you have on the one track is you know. Another track, you have ooh. But you've got the flexibility to do all those things where you're limited with a tape machine, you know, to the width, you know. So it's either 16, 24, 48, and that's it, you know.
Liquidator, which is the label that you're working with most recently, it certainly has a lot invested to recreate that old sound.
Yes.
What were they doing to kind of accommodate that, try to get that more natural rhythm?
Well, what happened, about 10 years ago, we had a relationship with Roberto Sanchez, who is, he's got a studio in Spain called Lone Arc,
Lone Arc, yeah.
and the Lone Arc Band. The band consists of him and maybe a couple other folks, because he plays everything. But so we had known that there's this guy who can replicate that 60s sound 10 years ago. So we were getting ready to work on our second album, and we wanted just a couple of tracks, rock-steady tracks, you know, to go back. And so we sent him an email, how would you like to give us a couple of tracks for our next album? Well, he said, no problem, but how would you like to do a whole album with me? And I said, nice, you know, a totally, you know, 100% rock steady. Yes, indeed. So that's what happened. And the guy is a gifted musician. He has captured that sound that we are just so comfortable with, you know. And we're very proud of this last album.
And this sound that we're capturing, you guys pioneered, Derek Harriott pioneered. Can you talk a bit about working with him as a producer?
Derek Harriott was really super to work with. He was a talented musician, talented singer. He was in a great group called the Jiving Juniors, and he did many wonderful recordings. He knows the intricacies of harmonies. A lot of that has rubbed off on us. He taught us a lot. You know, how to, you know, harmonize and stuff like that. So I'll always, you know, have praises for him in that respect, because he was truly one of the gifted producers. I mean, on top of being a gifted singer, performer, because he was in a band called the Mighty Vikings back in the days, and he had his record business. He did recordings. He did stints with the band, and he was lead vocalist and all that.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're truly grateful that we came through a guy like him who had such professionality and all that. So, yeah, you know, but there are other aspects to it too, which we won't get into at this particular time.
Right.
Keith and Tex, my name
There's
is.
always the whole story.
Yes.
Gentlemen, I'd like to just welcome you back to the festival.
Yes, man.
One of the greatest things for me as a DJ over the years is to see artists that we never thought we would see. A couple years ago when you first played, some of my friends said, we're going to go to breakfast. I said, you need to go see Keith and Tex. And they missed out. They had breakfast, but I had true history from Keith and Tex. And I just wanted to say from my heart, thank you for coming not just back again, but to touch our hearts once again. So much
Thank you.
respect.
Thank
I
you
want to
very
say
much.
you're welcome, and thank you very much for, you know, being so interested in us. You know, it's not lost on me.
Truly.
It's like our second home, and we like to think of Sierra Nevada as the second beginning of Keith and Tex. Baga Rhythm.
Yes.
Yeah, man.
Greetings, Keith. Greetings,
Greetings.
Tex. Your new album, Same Old Story.
Yes.
Is there any importance behind the meaning of that simple term, Same Old Story? What does it mean to you?
Well, the song was written with our problems in mind, you know, just getting along together. Just, you know, it is the same old story, but it cannot be the same old story. You know what I mean? So we wanted to take the look at it from that point of view. It's not the same old story. We can do something about it. You know, we can love each other. It doesn't take a lot. So that was the impetus behind it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Give thanks for you being here. Yes.
All right. More questions about the new album? We want to talk about that.
What would you like to tell us about the new album?
Oh, man. Glad you asked. Go ahead, Tex.
I was passing that up. Keith said before, and I'm going to reiterate, that we are proud of this new album because it's got different levels on it. It's got a little bit about, like you say, things a lot of the times are the same, but they don't necessarily need to be.
Right.
Because if we had a little bit more respect and understanding, we get along so much better. But also, about some of the hardships that people in other areas face. For instance, the Syrian refugees. We have a song
There
about
was a song
that.
about that.
Yeah.
What's it called?
Syrian refugees.
That makes sense. Okay.
So yeah, it's kind of charting the plight of those people and asking everybody in general to open your hearts to these refugees. You know, there's one that's called Grandma, which is kind of looking through life through Grandma's eyes. You know, from when she was young, beautiful, sprightly.
Remembering her youth.
Remembering, you know, and then eventually she got old, and you know, life just seemed to have passed her by, which is true for a lot of us. You know, one day you're young and fit, and the next day you look around and wow, your
You
youth
got
is
wrinkles.
gone. So you know, those are a couple of the examples.
We also have a song about the plight of the city. So you know, back in the days when there were a lot of manufacturing going on in cities, everybody was working, everybody could make a living, you know, families, and then the factories moved away. What was left? A bunch of poor people, and so the system, you know, not knowing how to cope with it, declared war on crime, declared war on drugs. So we sing about those things. It's, you know, you got to be careful of the names and check the meaning behind them. We have the typical love songs. You know, we did a song called Cyber Lover, which we're proud of, because it's what's happening. You know, you go online and you find the perfect person. You know, so we sing about that too.
It's a rocksteady genre, but it's based on
Contemporary
today's,
lyrics.
You know, today's lifestyles. Yeah. Stuff.
I'm curious, with two of you, with a group of two,
Yes.
your writing process is it a you came up with this song, you came up with that song, you write them strictly together? What's the process there for you?
Nothing strict. Nothing strict. Keith will have time to write a song by himself, and I'll have
And so
time.
will you,
But if we get together, we can also hybridize it. You know, come together and make a song with both of us having input in it. So it's not any one process. He writes, I write, and we both write. So that's the process.
But one thing we do, no matter who writes the song was written by Keith Rowe and Philip Texas Dixon. That's the way we want it.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Questions? Any questions? I didn't mean to interrupt clapping. Make some noise for the brothers, man.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any last questions?
Beth, you have a question?
You do? Yeah, what time's this at?
10 o'clock
10
tonight.
o'clock.
Yes.
Village
The
Stage.
Village Stage, yeah. Yes, sir. Who writes the bass lines? For the last album, gentleman by the name of Roberto Sanchez.
Okay, we'd really like to thank you for taking the time to speak with us.
Been our pleasure.
Actually, can I ask one more question?
Sure.
Y'all have been there since the beginning and are, you know, how would you explain, because a lot of people don't know what Rocksteady is. Young kids don't know what Rocksteady is, and it's such a beautiful representation of the music, but it's just one part of it.
Right.
How would you explain what the sound of Rocksteady is if you were telling a musician this is how you're going to play it? How would you describe it?
Oh, if I'm talking to a musician?
Yes.
Oh, well, that's a good question. I would say think of ska, but slow it down. You can use the same kind of chords that you use in ska, because Rocksteady allowed. Well, it's hard to answer that question without first saying that the music got slower. You had lots of group singing. Back in the ska days, it was individual singing. You know, Jackie Opel. Who are some other names? Laurel Aitken.
Laurel Aitken and artists like that.
Yeah.
The way I see it a little bit is that we've got reggae and we had ska. And somewhere in between both of them came this beat that was slower, more melodic. you know, and because the music was too fast, not too fast, but some people wanted it to slow down.
It
So
was fast to sing too, to harmonize, you know, the groups.
yeah. And at that time, I think a lot of R&B songs were influencing what we were singing.
were singing, yeah.
And because they were R&B, they naturally were slower. So we kind of slowed down the ska beat to the rocksteady beat. After that, there was an uptick. You know, people said, well, rocksteady too slow. So it kept the same sort of rhythm, but sped it up a little bit. And,
Yeah. And the bubble organ, you know, made a whole, it lifted it, you know.
Yeah.
But we were in Victoria a couple of days ago, and we had a symposium about how reggae music was influenced by R&B, you know, and it's such a great topic, because everything we did was, you know, in our era anyway, was based on R&B. My girlfriend's mother used to send me albums from the States. Temptations, we sang Don't Look Back. The Thames, we sang Walk the Streets at Night. You know, so, you know, all of that. But in terms of the musician, things are slower. The bubble, the picking guitar, okay, picks with the bass, and then, you know, does a lead on his own, like how Linte used to play, you know. So yeah, I would tell him, slow it down, slower than ska now. Use the same kind of chords, because ska was really good music, you know. But now do the bubble thing, the bass offbeat, you know, not on the 1, but on the 2 or even the 3, you know. So you play a phrase, and the bass will go do 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 doom doom doom, rest, do doom do doom doom doom, do do. You know what I mean? So the drums, and the drum and the bass is in sync anyway. So that's how I would talk to a musician about it.
Again, we appreciate you taking the time. We look forward to your show tonight. We look forward to you coming back here many more times. And
We hope so.
And we're honored to be a part of bringing y'all back. When you came the last time, we're honored to be a part of bringing California, you know, into your life, bringing you into California's life, bringing you back to this area.
Yes, yes.
And again, we thank you.
Our pleasure, man.
Everybody make some noise.
Thank you very much.
Have a great trip, y'all.